what? He goes, you're not going to believe this, man. He goes, but people will find me anywhere. And he goes, I just want to have a cigarette in peace. And I don't want my wife to know I haven't quit.
Welcome to the Exploring Washington State podcast. Here's your host, Scott Cowan.
All right. My guest today is Chef Reginald Jacob Howell. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk food, which, hey,
yes, I
don't cook it, I eat it. So, so you, like myself, are a Tacoma guy.
Born and raised.
Why don't you tell our audience your story?
So born and raised in Tacoma. And I've lived all over from East Side to Hilltop. Graduated Foss High School 2008. But cooking's kind of always been there. You know, I learned growing up. I was the youngest of three brothers. So before I could go to school, I was able to sit and bug my grandma all day and see what she was cooking up. And she'd always have something prepared, man, whether it was fried chicken to a cake. But that's where it all started, where it all stemmed back. And I can look back and say this is where cooking stuck itself in my heart. And it hid there for a while, you know what I mean? But I just look back to those memories. But all through college, kind of cooking kind of got me by, man. I'd cook sometimes if I didn't have rent for people, if I needed a place to stay, or I found cool, inventive ways and cheap stuff to cook to turn into a little bit of something more edible. But I got a job at UW. I'm working at Cultivate Restaurant, which allows students to do certain things in the restaurant. You know, they let us drop fries and flip some eggs if you wanted to, but I was I wanted more than that. So I kept bugging the chef. And the more and more I kind of worked there and just working through college, I realized cooking was something that really was I was passionate about, something I couldn't stop thinking about. I bought a bunch of books, was addicted to Food Network all growing up. And it just aligned, man. So after that, after I graduated, I just kept cooking. And, you know, I've been working professionally now for about 7 years. Worked in a few kitchens, opened one up with a friend, been a head chef, been a sous chef, competitions, you know, I just love anything about food. So
what did you go to school for?
I went to school for communications. So it was more I played football in college. So it was one of those degrees just get out of there, graduate. I knew what I wanted to do already. Communications was the closest thing to kind of get me out of there as soon as possible. So I ended up doing 4.5 years, finished at, UW Tacoma, but
Awesome. So you played football. All right.
A little bit. Oh, running back for the meantime. I was a scat back, not a big guy, but I was quick. So
you're quick.
Yeah.
Good. So how do I want to say this? Well, first off, you said something about taking cheap food. That was your word, cheap.
Yeah.
Give me an example. Tell us something that what can you do in inexpensive ingredients?
Let's see. I have an induction burner in my dorm room, but I'd always get a hold of some canned veggies or some canned chicken or stuff like that. I was on an athlete diet, but I was just turning that into good chicken salads. Taking some beans and having hearty bean and egg breakfast type of deal. Just small stuff I can get my hands on. My budget wasn't big. You know, I was out of state for a couple of years, so the out of state tuition was really kicking my butt. So food was I was even hitting the food banks, man, you know, just getting what we could, getting loads of cereal, Spam, things like that, you know, just having delicate upgraded college meals, athlete meals. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, my experience in college was we did a lot of ramen because we didn't always have milk or butter for mac and cheese. So we always had water, so we could at least do ramen.
Man, the little mini mac and cheeses used to be good too. Those Kraft ones, all you do is add water. You don't need anything.
Yeah,
of course, butter and milk would have helped, but pasta's pasta, man. I'm
a lot older than you. We didn't have the mini servings.
Oh gosh.
We just had the boxes of, and at that time they were 12 cents a box.
Yeah.
It was, ramen was 8 cents a packet.
Yeah. I mean, pasta was cheap, so we got to hand, pasta was a good thing I learned to cook, which was one of my favorite cuisines is Italian food. Back then I was buying just pasta and plain sauce and like something. As an athlete, that's what you need, just like some carbs and stuff to refuel you. But I think that's kind of where my love for passion for Italian food kicked in. Now that I've had the opportunity to like work at a restaurant in Rama in Tacoma, we do handmade pastas, or used to do handmade pastas when I was there. So it was good to kind of like remember where I used to start, and then now I'm like really making really good stuff, and like even with the Italian food, using minimal ingredients to create something powerful. So yeah.
So you also said you started buying cooking cookbooks and all that. So where did you, when you first got started on the book learning, if you will, what were some of the books that you were picking up that were inspirational?
Most of them were just like recipe books. I was finding small little things at Pike Place that were just what some of the restaurants have done. I was like, I wanted to see what the Pacific Northwest had to offer as far as food. I never really opened myself to that cuisine. So it's more of books of that. I was also gifted a lot of books like the LaRue's or the Flavor Bible. Anthony Bourdain was one of the first books I actually picked up that I took like to heart and was like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like I knew who he was and like watched his stuff, but once you read Kitchen Confidential, man, like it really alters like your way of like going about things and just your thought. But yeah, just small little, even if it's just like a Harry Potter cookbook, something like that like intrigues my mind. I like to have food and do weird stuff. So yeah, anything like that, man. I've got a whole bookshelf over here I'm looking at. Like I've got stuff on sous vide. I've got Matthew Mathison's new cookbook, a couple of Sean Brock cookbooks. Chef Kwame Unwachi, he's actually a James Beard nominated winning chef. I got his book here, Notes of a Black Chef. It's very, very good for chefs of color to check out too. So that's actually one of my favorites I picked up.
Okay, so I'm going to move this.
Yeah. Oh, I wish I would have worn my Bourdain T-shirt, man. It's probably in the wash.
So I have a Bourdain story. Can I share it?
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
So let's see. This was about 12 years ago.
Okay.
And I was a struggling real estate agent in Tacoma, trying to make ends meet with two teenage kids at home. It was just me, two teenage kids. And so I was a limo driver.
Oh, okay.
I would chauffeur people around. So the guy I worked for got a limo company in Tacoma, and he calls me up one day and goes, "Hey, I need you to go to Portland. You take a town car, go to Portland." I go, "Okay." And he goes, "You're going to pick up Tony Bourdain." What?
Yeah.
You're going to pick up Tony Bourdain. Okay. My daughter, who was 14 at the time, and I'll say this because she would admit it, she would say at that time, she goes, "I want to have his child." I mean, she was totally passionate about Tony Bourdain. So she's like beside herself. "Can you get me an autograph? Can you, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "Yeah, got to be careful. I can't he's not going to sit in the car and talk to me. I'm driving that guy." So I go pick him up in Portland, and we're driving up from Portland. He's going to do a performance at the Paramount Theater in Seattle with Mario Batali.
Okay.
Because the two chefs are going to be on stage talking. That was the thing. So I'm talking to him, briefly. He was very engaging, he was great, right? And he goes, Can you pull over? I need to get a cigarette." I'm like, "Okay." So we pull over in this little town, and he goes, "Can you go around back?" And we're at a gas station. He goes, "Can you go around back?" And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "You're not going to believe this, man." He goes, "But people will find me anywhere." And he goes, "I just want to have a cigarette in peace. And I don't want my wife to know I haven't quit." I'm like, "All right, man." So we pull around back of this gas station, and he gets out of the car and he lights his cigarette, and we're talking. And all of a sudden people just start showing up.
Oh gosh.
I'm like, "What the heck?" So he's nice. He signs a couple autographs. He gets back in the car, and I said, "Look, I hate to ask you this, but my daughter is just enthralled." And he's like, "Oh," he goes, "Well, why don't you guys come to our show tonight?" And I'm like, "Wow." I go, "I can't afford it." And he goes, "Well, no, I'll give you tickets." I go, "Well, we're not supposed to take gifts from customers." He goes,
"Yeah.
"No, do you want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So drive him to Seattle, drop him off. He goes, "All right, I'll have tickets waiting for you at Will Call." I'm like, "Oh, thanks." I go home, I get my daughter, we get ready, we drive from Tacoma back up to Seattle. We go to Will Call at the Paramount Theater. There's no tickets.
Oh my gosh.
and she's devastated. Right. And I'm just like, oh, and it was sold out. I couldn't afford it even if it wasn't. Anyway, as it happened, I was at the will call booth and I'm talking to the guy. I go, look, I drove him up today from Portland. And then he happened to walk by.
Oh my gosh.
And I go, there he is. Would you just ask him? And so the guy actually did. The guy goes, excuse me. And Tony, and he's like, oh my God, I forgot to get these guys tickets. Get them in here. And so
crap.
He hooks us up with the wristbands. We're in the 5th row at the Paramount Theater. He does his thing. Afterwards, there's an after hours party. And we're up on the stage at the Paramount Theater up on stage, and my daughter gets to meet him and she starts crying. I've got these pictures. In fact, I talked to her earlier today, and she has 2 children, and she still thinks that's the best day of her life. I won Father of the Year for that.
Yeah, I would say you won a couple years after that, man.
Yeah,
that's like a movie right there.
Yeah, he was such a nice guy. Such a engaging person. I loved watching his shows. Did you ever read his fiction books?
I've read one. I don't have it. I don't have a copy of that. That's one of them that got lost in the move, I think, or over the years.
Mine got lost too. But they were just he would be somebody I would love to sit around and talk to.
Yeah.
So sorry, I hijacked your show.
But it'd be like that one time, like your favorite episode. It's like if you could have that one conversation with them. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't even need much. It's like. That's all you need. And what we all needed from Bourdain was like a simple conversation about whatever, got a beer, something to eat, or just some laughs and jokes. Like that's what it was about, so that's dope, man. That's a gold memory.
Yeah. So anyway, but like I said, I hijacked you. So
no, it's I love that story. I love that story.
College days, inexpensive food. And then you decided, after working your way through college, you kind of decided this is what I want to do. Yeah.
So once I graduated, I was able to work saute and really work around the kitchen, man. So I started to just taking over. I was able to run my first special, maybe 2 weeks into my first real, this is my kitchen chef on the line deal. And it didn't sell. And I was crushed. I was like, what the heck? You know what I mean? Am I sure I want to do this? But then I had some advice from a chef that trained me, Chef Michelle. She was there. One of my close chef friends I talk to this day, which is cool. But she was like, you look at it and fix it. And I was like, what do you mean fix it? This is bomb. This is the real deal. But then I was like, okay, I started remembering certain parts of different books and different techniques. And I analyzed okay, I can make this better. So once I kind of did that, man, I actually sold it the next day and sold out. And I was like, okay, I got that first rush, that adrenaline, this is cool as hell. So, yeah, man, I worked there for another year, just honing my skills, it was a little bit of lunch, brunch type of situation where we fed pretty much all the students on campus, a lot of the teachers, donors, things like that. But it was a restaurant that just regular Seattleites could come to. So it was like an influx of everything, man. So I've got just hours and hours of working the window, learning how to call tickets, working grill, saute, things like that. Just multi-dimensional stuff, man. And then I did my year. That's as much as they want you to do unless you want to apply for the head chef job. But I was like, I want to go to Tacoma and cook. Obviously, it was cheaper too. So I was like, I'm moving back to Tacoma. I lived in Seattle, which was crazy. Went to Tacoma, and I worked out there. So I was back and forth for a couple years, which was stressful, but it allowed me to kind of just focus, man, and really get things done. But my first actual outside of school job was I worked at Dirty Oscar's Annex in Tacoma, which is one of the staples on 6th Ave. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have been there, but it's American gastropub. You got the fried chicken. They got a brunch menu, things like that. So I worked there for a year or two before. I'm very aggressive when I do things. So I'm not going to want to sit and work one position for a while. My ultimate goal is to be a head chef, or to run my own business. So I was very just nose down. I was out working all these guys that had been there, and I was just a constant hunger and urge to get better and either run that joint or somebody sees me and I get to run my own joint. So I did that, man, for a year or so. Got bumped up to sous chef quickly, which was a shock to me. I was like, holy crap, you know what I mean? you read about this and all these books and all these guys went to culinary school, give you advice, and they work years just to get sous chef or off, making salads and stuff. And I'm like, okay, this is a good opportunity, man. Don't squander it. And that was like another good feeling, because I was like, okay, I love cooking, but this is like solidifying the things that I'm doing, like the nights I spend up learning and asking questions and just sitting at home flipping beans in a pan trying to get my saute game work, you know what I mean? So that was cool, and that was like a very big stepping stone. And then I started to get on like Instagram and post food and specials and things like that, and people were listening and liking, and I even got a bid back in the day from like a couple Food Network shows, like, which was cool. So I mean, not to like, it was more of like apply and we'll see if we can maybe like your application. But just it gave me that idea of like, holy crap, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm doing something correct. And then I moved over to Moshi Moshi in Tacoma, which is a ramen izakaya bar. I was sous chef over there, and then I went and sous chef down kind of at Unarama for a while before recently, right before COVID and the world went to heck, man. I took a head chef job up here in Seattle, which is why I live in Lake City. So that was like just over the past 4 or 5 years getting to that point, and I was like, cool, you know what I mean? Like, I set a 5-year plan and like actually like executed. Like I'm walking into a head chef, new year, new me type of deal. But yeah, man. Oh man, I wish that saying was more powerful, but there's no gyms open really, so I can't keep up with it. But yes, I took the head chef job, and that was like a great opportunity, man. I really wanted to cook my own food, and this is a great place to do such. So I did that, man. And then COVID happened and everything shut down and there wasn't really hours to work, and the spiel. It was just so much going on. So I actually started pushing more towards my private chefing business. I feel like it was a good time to like get a business started, or at least get like an alternative to eating out. I can bring a restaurant to people once COVID like allowed certain phases and stuff. So now I've just been kind of doing my own thing, writing menus each week, having good opportunities to meet people, go into different environments every week and have some fun. It's been really cool.
So how has first of all, I got a question, and I let you go a long time before I ask this one. Your first special, the one that bombed.
Yeah.
What was it?
It was like a pasta dish or something like, I think it was like a cioppino.
Okay.
We were working on a cioppino, so there was like clams, mussels. I think we threw some scallops in there, but I didn't cook it out long enough. I was so happy, and so let's just get this going. My sauce wasn't good. When I actually went back and tasted it, everything together and cooked it, added a little wine, some shots, sauteed garlic, shallots, something of the sorts like that, and actually went through it. I realized, like, man, this just tastes like plain tomato juice. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, even with everything. So I realized, like, that I have to respect the process of the R&D behind the dish, even if it's something that's been cooked 1,000 times. I haven't cooked it 1,000 times.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that kind of like leveled me out. And I was like, all right, man, well, don't do all this research and not be able to like put it to work. You know what I mean? Like training myself and asking to get trained. So that's when I kind of learned, man, like just because you want something doesn't mean it can always happen. Like you have to respect the dish, respect the culture that created that cuisine, or that specific plate itself. So it made me hone down, man. And that's when I came back the next day. I actually followed my recipe instead of being cocky and trying to, just throw everything in the pot and hope it tastes good. And that was like a defining moment of just focus, keep it simple, keep it good, and stick to what you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it crushed me. I tell you, it crushed me.
But from adversity comes success.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what that was part of the addictive part too, man, was something not always working out, but just figuring out the process to do it in like a different way, or using a different ingredient to sub to get what you want. And it made me fall in love with just trying to find things around me that influence a certain dish. And it was just cool, man. It was just so cool.
Awesome. Well, see, I always like to ask people, like, what was this great idea that you had that didn't work? Well, I don't have to ask that question because you already shared that one with us. So that's cool.
Well, that's one of many, that's probably, but that was like my first ever like failure was like, like, let me reverse a little bit. So,
well, okay. So let's go down one more failure rung. Yeah, what was another, like you had this like idea, like you're going to put this together and this is going to be all that.
Let's see.
And it wasn't.
Okay. So this was almost one of my last specials out. It was just a weird dish. It was like, I tried to like layer cornbread. I tried to make it like a shepherd's pie cornbread type of deal.
Okay.
But I just had too much stuff in it, man. For my chili, it was like cornbread chili or something of the sort, but I tried to throw like too much veg, too much beans, too much this. And it tasted good, but like it was too much. There's too much going on. I was like, I even confused myself. I even tried it, but it was on the spreadsheet. I had to sell it. I had tried the day before, but never like sat down and had it fully. And I was like, man, this is a lot. So it sold, but didn't. There was a lot of like half-eaten plates, things like that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Coming back. So I was like, okay, all right, what'd I do wrong? It tasted good. The flavors are good, but there was just too much. So the process of like editing myself was like going back to the drawing board. Like, what do I really want? Do I want, do I want a classic shepherd's pie? Should I stick with that? Or should I do this like this cornbread pudding situation? Like there was a version of it out somewhere probably, but I was probably at that time, I was like cocky and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to try to like not get hung up on something else. I'm going to see if I can like recreate something and so happen to make it good. But I took like 3 beans out. I took the zucchini, onions, and I left it just with some ground meat, kidney beans, and like a spicy tomato sauce or something like that. Simplified it. It sold better. It ate better.
Okay.
But that was one of those more moments where, sometimes you get too excited and you have all these things, but you have to just like edit it a little bit, you know what I mean? And focus on focus on 1 or 2 things and execute them well.
Okay. No, that's excellent.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us about this chef's roll plate competition?
Oh, yeah. I've had a lot of decent milestones, man, in this cooking thing. I think it's one of those like work hard and things present themselves. So once I started getting like going on Instagram, Chef's Roll is just like a community platform for a lot of chefs to meet, and they on their Instagram and their social medias they kind of highlight chefs from all over the world, kind of with different techniques, different sustainable processes to go about. But I met them guys through a contest, so it was like a chef's convention, the first chef's convention that they were throwing, and it looked like something cool I wanted to go to, like meet some guys. I've always wanted to travel and talk food and meet people. So it was more of like, hey, Instagram friends and family, go tag me, get me to the San Diego. I won't let you down, type of deal. So they came through, to help my fiance too. She's pretty good at like social media stuff. She was tagging me, making sure I like reminded people to tag, and they hit me up and they were like, yeah, man, you won. So it was a free contest or a free trip down to San Diego hotel. Actually I brought one of my chef buddies I've never met before in real life. So that was our first time meeting there. And we formed a bond that we're still friends to this day, man. We talk almost every other day. But so I met the CEO of Chef's Roll, Spiceology. True Cooks was like a conglomerate of like chef-owned, operated businesses. And he was like, yeah, we got a chef competition coming to Seattle. Would you, be interested? I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, teasing in my face, like, I hope you do. I like, low-key was like, just so happy to be there. I'm like, but if you want me in a contest, like, cool, that'd be dope. Like, I'll do my best. So a couple months after, man, they hit me up like, hey, do you want to be in a contest? I'm like, oh, shoot. Like, I'm like, yeah. In my head, I'm like, whoa, dude, like, you've never competed before. Are you ready for that? Like, I'm pretty sure you're going to pick a banging chef to, like, go against. Like, so I was nervous, But yeah, so they sent us our product that we had to work with. It was like lamb, tuna, and the dessert was like open for interpretation. So I ended up writing the menu, man. We had a couple months to prepare. So it ended up being for 65 people. It was a plate of dinner, 4 courses, man. And yeah, I executed the menu and I won, which was huge. And so the package was a knife set. The whole competition itself was filmed, so you get a highlight reel that goes for social media, but also connecting me with a lot of chefs. And one gave me credibility, man. Just I've never competed before. I've never cooked really like high end food like that in that atmosphere. And I want to get into a chef that has been cooking in Seattle for a while, and she's actually at one of the Thomas Douglas restaurants, I believe. One of his many that are out in Seattle, but that was cool. You know, he's a great chef, done great things for, city of Seattle and all that. So to be able to beat one of his chefs, man, just a little guy from Tacoma, that was like dope. And I was like, then my addiction like grew, and I was like, well, now I want to compete, or I just want to like be in front of people, like doing what I love. And like, that was the coolest thing. I had friends and family there, that were there to support me, man. And it was just like, it was the coolest thing.
What's it like? I mean, Food Network has changed things.
Yeah.
Chefs are now celebrities.
Yeah.
I mean, chefs are right there with, we talk about chefs like we talk about Russell Wilson. I mean, yeah. And I think a lot of that credit goes to, Food Network for exposing the talents that are everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I've got to imagine, and I worked very, very briefly in a kitchen when I was in college. I wasn't allowed to use knives because I was dangerous type thing, so basically I washed dishes, but
hey, it's restaurant, man.
It's got to be completely different to be competing versus working dinner service. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, dinner service, it's fun. You have your set menus at your restaurants, but you have like backups and plan Bs. You have stuff available to do such. And competitions, in a sense, it's either live, it's right in front of you, and you've got to make with what you have or what they give you. So it's both fun because there's a different rush. There's a different, like, when you're competing, it's like, when I play football, it's like, I'm going to beat you. Like, I came here to beat you and to do just winning anything, you beat your little sibling in a video game. You're pumped. So you get that rush, but a dinner rush, man, there's nothing like you've got like 100 tables and they get flipped 3 times during the night. And you're just like busting out food, and you don't miss a beat, man. Like, there's something that's so it's like a symphony, if you really play it right. And there's been restaurants where you may not get a break, it's just that kitchen life where you're just like, you're cooking, you're on the line, you may get a bathroom break or some water, man. But that rush is like, it's irreplaceable, it's irreplaceable, especially when it's your food or it's a special or it's just the place that you work you're really proud of, and then like put out that food, man. Getting through an 8-hour shift that feels more like a 12, and even sometimes it is a 12. It's like, it's rewarding because, it's a lot of strain, man. Some people, there's dietary needs and allergies and things like that. With the food competition, it's more of a set menu, or it's live, and you're maybe cooking for 1 or 2, 3 people. So it's not like a big, well, it is big, you want to win, but 3 people rather than 100 seat, 200 seat, or 200 guest type of deal. But yeah, I mean, depends on, like you said, with the Food Network and Instagram and social media, a lot of chefs were able to, promote ourselves like celebrities, and depends on who we choose or people who chooses to follow us and like support us. It's all up to them, but it's what you have to do now to kind of get yourself out there, sell your business or sell your company. If you have a clothing line, things like that. I mean, spices and all that stuff. You have to promote yourself as a celebrity. You got to really walk tall and, prove you are the best. And it's really up to you to gotta answer the call when people, dial in. So.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah. That's awesome. I'm on your site and I'm looking at some of your dishes you've got here. And
yeah.
Tell me about your steak and grits.
Steak and grits. Oh, that's actually one of the dishes that a chef's roll when I did the chef's competition. They posted, and that's how I kind of found out. I like get this tag on my phone, and I'm like, chef's roll, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, no way. And then I get an email, then I get a call, and I'm like, oh crap, like I won. But that was them announcing, and it showed off my dish to their 10,000 followers or however how much they had at the time. And I'm like, oh snaps, like I'm gonna start like getting a couple buzz. But that dish was at Rama in Tacoma, downtown Tacoma, when we first started doing brunch. We were kind of playing around what we really wanted to do, what was really hitting for brunch. We know we wanted some type of grits or polenta since it was Italian restaurant. We wanted something like that. So normally we do a rotating protein, or if it's something that's left over from a special that we can reconstitute to a different dish. So that it was pretty much steak and grits. We had grits on hand. We had the steak that was already well marinated. So I was like, perfect, let's just do that. Throw a fried egg. You throw a fried egg on anything, man, you got breakfast. So yeah, that steak and grits, I love making grits. I love Southern food. So I made them like nice, real cheesy, creamy. The steak cooked perfect medium rare. We marinated in just a little bit of like citrus and like heavy pepper. Picked it up with heavy salt and give it a nice real sear. But that thing sold out. We were only able to do about 10 to 12 just with our size and volume. At the restaurant, it's like really small, 20 to 50 people seat type of place. But yeah, brunch is always like a backbone for me.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful looking dish.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Why don't we talk about for a second? So you're doing private chef.
Yeah.
Sorry, big pause there. What was the motivation for you to go into that part of cooking?
Well, people always ask me to cook, when I'm outside of work, like, hey, can you cook for me? And I was like,
no, I'm off work.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, come cook for me. Like, I'm hungry. But I was like, maybe on my off days or the times I have free, why don't I just charge people and I'll come cook them a meal? You know what I mean? So started off that small. That's something I've always done with like my whole career. In my free time is somebody wants me to slow down for a barbecue. They've got the kids and they don't have the hands. I go hook a meal up for them. But just slowly over the years, I kind of started to like really define my own cooking and, start to begin to write my own menu stuff for future book purposes and things like that, or just future when I open my restaurant. So it just began as that. Then when COVID hit, it was a perfect opportunity to kind of take some time to focus on like my future as a chef and like, what I wanted to do outside of a restaurant. And it just so happened we started going into phases when I wanted to like offer my services. So I did that just to make an extra dollar. Just as, I was trying to survive during COVID, man. A lot of chefs took a hit, which was half their hours were cut. So I needed to fill in and it was perfect during the time, man. So people started to bite and hit me up for parties of two. And then once the phases hit, I've been able to kind of do parties of 10 and things like that. And it's mostly people making up for birthdays and celebrations, which is cool. So I'm able to like create a good memory for them. But yeah, it's just right now it's going well. People are still kind of afraid to eat out, but what I've been doing is offering like customized menus for each person, depending on if they want Italian to Asian to Southern to Caribbean. I'm able to execute these 4-course menus for them. So, yeah, it's honestly something I've got on the forehand. I don't really see myself going back to a restaurant soon. I've got some opportunities, man, to get like a mobile version of my kitchen or brick and mortar. So praying that happens. But the private chef stuff is kind of getting me out there right now.
So when you're doing the private chef, are you bringing all the ingredients to?
Yep.
So you're doing the shopping.
Yeah.
You're bringing the full. So yeah,
I've bought in plates. I've got equipment I've collected from over the years. So I pretty much take I take a restaurant to wherever they're at. Mostly it's been like people's homes or like an Airbnb or something like that. And I'll literally take all I need. I'll do the shopping, do the prepping. And I cook live for them it's like a restaurant. So we'll go through each course. It's either paired with like a wine or a cocktail, things like that. But it's been different. Everybody wants something different. So I've kind of been able to like hit every little spectrum and figure out like a package.
How are you able to do that? I mean, not every kitchen's got everything you need necessarily.
Yeah.
So how do you prepare for that inevitability that you walk in and go, oh, I needed X, and let's say a stove, and there's no stove here.
Yeah. I mean, half the time there's a grill, or I have a mobile grill, and a little like Cuisinart mini oven. So, luckily I'm doing fine dining-ish food, so it's not like big pans and stuff. So I've actually had to use my toaster oven. I bring my Vitamix wherever I go. All my like little kitchen immersion blenders. My portable grill. I have a lot of equipment, so I know writing a menu is like, this could go wrong. Bring this equipment just in case you got to like turn it into something else. You know what I mean? Like if I had to if I needed to bake cornbread and I couldn't, I'd just make a corn cake and throw it on a flat top or something like that, or even do like mini ones in the toaster oven. But that happens in the restaurant too. Sometimes something breaks during service, and you've got to figure out how to like put these plates out. So it's nothing new when I walk into a kitchen and I'm like, oh, so this is the counter space I have, and I end up cutting out my cooler or something like that. But it's fun, man. It adds like a little joy. I mean, it does kind of irritate you, but it's like, let me show off a little bit. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
That would totally throw me off. I wouldn't.
Man.
I wouldn't recover.
And in Rama, so we work on, it's an electric range, and it's in the old courthouse building in Tacoma. Like everybody who's from Tacoma knows the old courthouse. It's like right on 9th and Pacific. But that building is very old, as you know. And the power sometimes, like it's shared in a lot of places. One brunch, man, that the range went down. We had no oven, no stovetop, no flat top, and the steam table was working. All we had was one induction, and it was like 10 minutes before we opened the doors. I'm like, you got to be kidding me! I'm like, what am I gonna do? So I'm cooking off this one induction for a little bit till we're trying to flip the breakers and get the oven back on, and even then, it's going to take 20 minutes to warm back up. So, stuff like that happens, or, there's a gas fire and things like that, or just the oven just isn't heating up, or you burn something. I mean, it's all the same. You got to figure out, what to do. Like, you're there, get it done.
Okay. Well, you're better at that than I would be. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. Just practice. A lot of practice.
So one of the things I always like to ask people is like, so you grew up in Tacoma.
Yeah.
All right. And I don't always like to ask them, you grew up in Tacoma, because that's not true for a lot of people, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
Growing up, what were some places that in the food space, what were some Tacoma memories? Do you have any Tacoma memories?
Yeah, I mean, so many, man. I mean, you got Frisco Freeze, which is like a staple. Like I've always been a huge burger fan. That was like my McDonald's if I wanted like McDonald's after school, like, Mom, can we go to Frisco Freeze or that type of deal. And that was like, one of the places I could always like, you can get a consistent burger, man. But playing football, man, so on Saturdays, my dad would always get Bob's Barbecue, which is actually located in Hilltop neighborhood. Bob's Barbecue's been there 70, 80 years, man. It's like one of the stables in Tacoma. They got the big smoker out front sometimes. You can just like smell it, like just all down MLK. But we get like a half pound of rib tips, man, and some loaves of bread. So after a game, whether we win or lose, he'd have some rib tips for us. And like I just remember we used to be in the car. I've got my pads on still, sweating, smelling like grass. But you can just have this like smoky, spicy, sweet, like simple, like it was just like good ribs. You know what I mean? Like I like home cooked food, man. So there was no like begging for candy and all that. I was like, man, let's go to Bob's. Like that was like our game day meal,
Okay.
Other than that, let's see. Uncle Therm's is like a good Southern spot, man. That's in Tacoma. Going there and get some good barbecue, good Southern food. But those like the memories like growing up, man, was just like those two really. Southern Kitchen, man, too. Southern Kitchen right over near Jason Lee. That was something you go after church. We go to after church, man. Get a nice full meal. Like you definitely won't leave there hungry for sure. And they've been there for a while. And has been featured on I think was it Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives before too. Yeah. So they've got their own credibility. But those are two places I can really like feel grown up.
Okay. So what about, what about now in Tacoma? I mean, you mentioned Dirty Oscars, but what else has been happening in Tacoma that you think is worthy of note?
Well, going to UW-Tacoma, man, I was seeing a lot of the change that area is bringing to Hilltop. So, I mean, Tacoma's been getting gentrified for years now. With the addition of like the light rail, things like that going all through MLK, it's kind of like displaced a lot of people. There's like I don't know how many businesses right now are suffering because of the construction or the rent that they can't pay. So a lot of Hilltop local residents are being kind of like pushed out in a sense, you know what I mean? So some places it can be good, it can bring business, but it's a change they really didn't need. I mean, change could have been more focused on like housing and the homeless situation going on, and obviously the drug and crime. Those are the main issues you really wish would come in instead of just bringing a link rail that essentially no one really needed. But that's just, one of the main things that a lot of businesses are suffering from is the gentrification going on in Tacoma. But there's a lot of good light coming through with COVID. A lot of businesses are still surviving. People are really going out there supporting, like I mentioned, like Uncle Therm's and Southern Kitchen. I believe there's Essence Lounge, which is on 6th Ave now. It's a new Black-owned restaurant that's like making some note in Tacoma. But it's just those little bit of light. Tacoma's never been defeated. And if you're from Tacoma, it's just like anybody can say it, but it means something different. Being from the 253, man, like we really can make it out of nothing. We diamond in the rough for sure. So, I mean, the food scene's still surviving, which is good. Cookie 2, which is on the Hilltop. They're right on MLK, and they're Black owned as well, but they're also vegan. So there's like good food around, man, that's being offered. A lot of these restaurants are also like deeply involved in the community, which is pretty awesome. And there's been programs all around Tacoma, even in Rama, my old place I used to work. Every Wednesday, they do free community meals. Without question, if you need a meal for a family, they've got you covered. So that's what's beautiful about it. Even though there's a lot going on and a lot of people are without work, the places that are surviving are still able to provide for others around them and see to it that we all survive.
Yeah, no, and that's very important to every community, not just Tacoma, but it's great that Tacoma's doing that, getting together to do that. Are you a coffee drinker?
Yeah and no. I mean, I love coffee, but I'm trying to switch to teas now. Because I drink so much coffee, but that's probably my go-to choice if I had to.
Coffee. Okay, so how about tea? You switched to tea. Is there a place in Tacoma that's serving good tea? I'm not too sure if it's just tea, but I know there's Bluebeard Coffee, which is on 6th Ave. Yep.
Then you have Liftbridge Coffee, which is downtown in the courthouse building as well, like right next to Rama. There was another one down 6th Ave, but I don't think it survived the wave. But those are the two that I know and I've done business with before. We featured Bluebeard Coffee, some of our dishes, and we sold it there as well. Then Liftbridge, became my favorite coffee spot. Just working right next to Rama, I could walk over down the hall, get a fresh cup of coffee. But chai tea has like been my new love. My fiance, she's Indian, and like every day we drink chai, so. That's what I mean when I like tea is chai.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got some. How about up in the Lake City area? Is there?
Yeah. So there's actually my new favorite coffee shop, man, in Shoreline. It's kind of near Lake City, but it's Black owned, and they've actually been in the news. Just with them opening, there was a lot of like hate things going on and graffiti and stuff like that, but What is the name? I'm blanking on the name.
They're called Black Coffee.
Yeah, Black Coffee Northwest.
Black Coffee.
But yeah, I went there, man. They've got a dope menu. They do like events on Saturdays and things like that to welcome the community. But yeah, that's my favorite spot, man. They got a drink called the Karen there, and it just I kid you not. And I'm reading the menu for the first time. I'm like, you know what? I love it. Like It just fit, man.
So I have a story.
Oh, is it a kid
So I was,
story?
we're always looking for people to be guests on the show. Right. And I was on LinkedIn and they popped up on my LinkedIn feed and I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh, this is cool. I think it's a great name.
Yeah.
I love coffee and it's something that I had to share with my dad. And my dad was always just a plain black coffee drinker. So the name Black Coffee, I'm like, damn, that's a great name. So I'm looking at their menu and I'm looking at they're doing a lot of stuff with kids and this sounds awesome.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I'm reading the menu and I see that they've got a drink called the Karen. And I'm sorry, I just thought that was hysterical.
Yeah.
So my wife's son lives in Shoreline and she went over to visit. I said, can you drive through there, please? Just go get coffee, support them, go get coffee and order a Karen. And she's like, what are you talking about? But yeah, I think I've heard you're not the first person, which is good.
Yeah.
They get referenced a lot and they are buying their beans from a place in Renton called Boon Boona.
Yeah. Boona Boona, yeah.
Yeah, which is, have you been there?
Yeah. That's over kind of maybe 10, 15 minutes from me, I believe. So I've only had to drive that way a few times for work. So that's the one time I got to go in the morning. It was good coffee, man. Like, couldn't complain. No,
it's a cool space and they're very nice people.
Yeah.
Really doing a lot for the community there too, which is really what I think, more and more of us need to be doing all the time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, honestly, kitchens have always taken care of the community, man. A lot of restaurants, there's a lot of laws that prevent restaurants from just going out and feeding. So there's like small hoops to jump through, but a lot of restaurants, and I'd say the majority of them that are open, the ones that are open are somebody's got a program implemented to help the community, whether it's a meal kit or they're finding money to donate to buy toiletries and things like that. But that's what I love about the food industry or just the restaurant industry. We really like to leave nobody behind. You know what I mean? No matter what the cause, there's something out there we can do. So
yeah, that's awesome. So chef, when you're not cooking,
yeah,
what do you do? What do you do for fun and relaxation?
I got my Xbox, of course, I play a little video games, get a little bit of that. But other than that, just when I've lived out Seattle now, I've just been getting into walking, working out, focusing on like my mental health, man, my physical health. I'm trying to stay in so much shape from what I was in college. So I hit Green Lake, man. I jog that a couple times a week. Mostly that. I've just been also just like getting into like actually being a foodie. I never had the opportunity to like really go out because I've always worked. Being able to write my own schedule now, man, I've got some time to like really like go try a restaurant or go pick up a takeout meal and go sit, take some time to myself and really take it all in. But eating, I'd say it's not like a new hobby, but I've actually got to dive into it lately. But it's more of like stuff I've just been focused on eating for my health. So that's like allowed me to like also try new things in the past few months, man. I tried vegan for a month. That was pretty interesting. Probably won't do it again. I love like real protein and things like that. Not knocking it. It's a good diet, man, or a good way to go about life is veganism. But I need some beef or steak and stuff here and there, man. But
gotcha.
Other than that, puzzles. Me and my fiance, we do puzzles. We're getting into those. Just small stuff, man. A lot of chefs talk about how, sometimes they work all the time, and, they see their spouse later at night. But I'm taking this time to, like, really spend time with her and keep our communication solid. So we're just finding random things to do, whether it's indoor, outdoor. We can be binging Netflix, just watching food stuff or picking a show. Just, I don't know. It's downtime, really. A lot of chefs don't get downtime, man. So really soaking it in before everything opens back up and you really got to hit the road running. So, yeah.
Gotcha. I'm going to ask you one last question because this is totally random because you just said Netflix, Food Network and all that. So what's your favorite food related movie?
Oh, man. That's a tough one. I like the movie with John Farva. I'm pretty sure everybody's seen it. It's called Chef, where he's like the chocolate lava cake guy, But that's one of my favorite movies, man. Because I like that. That would be cool to just like up and go get a food truck, start a menu, just travel, and really fall in love like over and over with food again. That's one of my top ones. I love Julia to Julia. It's about Julia Childs. I think that's on Netflix too. But I mean, who didn't grow up watching Julia Childs and making beef burger on your own and stuff like that? Like, so those two movies stick up there. And Good Burger, man. I grew up in the Nickelodeon era. Good Burger was that movie. Like, I probably still would want a Good Burger if it were out there today. I'd go buy one.
Okay.
So those are my three, man. A serious one, classic, and a comedy.
What about, so with circling back to Chef, have you watched the show?
Chef Show, yeah. Him and Roy Choi. Oh, yeah. I've watched that several times over. That's that's motivation, man. Like, to do some stuff like that, or just what Roy Choi's doing, man. Simple, clean food, or I'd travel and I'd go to different kitchens and like do what they're doing. Like, that's easy fun right there, man. Yeah. No, I'm with you. The Chef movie I watched that and I was just like, there's something about it. I don't want to say it was authentic, but I don't mean, but it didn't feel, it felt plausible. Let's just put it that way. It felt like it was real enough. How's that? Yeah. I mean, he did the training, man. I mean, looking at him now and watching the Chef Show, like the dude's come a lot from just being an actor and actually like he knows what he's talking about, which is cool. A lot of people like can call themselves chef and all that stuff, but it's putting the work in and then like wanting like the best for a dish and respecting that process. That's what it takes to be a chef. And like he's like embodying like all that. Like that show is motivational, man. Like look at the test kitchen. Like like give me one of those and a camera. Let me do some cooking. Right. And then I don't know if you've seen this, and this was a while ago. And it was just on YouTube. And but have you watched any of the Cooking with Coolio? Cooking with Coolio? No, I haven't. I didn't know there was a Cooking with Coolio. Cooking with Coolio. Gosh, I've got to check that out. And it's just go watch Cooking with Coolio. It was. Why haven't I heard of this? Like, why? I don't know. Why has no one tagged me in this? Nothing. Shame on you, friends. It's probably 10 years ago he did this. Okay. And it was like, they're like 10-minute episodes. Okay. And they're funny, but he's kind of got skills. He's got knife skills and he knows his way around a kitchen. Let's just put it that way. But he's very funny. Yeah. Huh, and if you haven't seen that, you might get a chuckle out of it. I have to. And anyway. Cooking with Coolio. Cooking with Coolio. Very simple, clean. I can see it. Yeah. So, well, we'll wrap this up. Why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you online? So my website is 253degrees.com. And that's my handle for Instagram as well, is 253degrees. So you can find all my links to my websites there. Feel free to message me on my Instagram or shoot an inquiry through my website. Just about if you want a private dinner, if you want a virtual cooking class, if you want to chat food and got a question, I'm an open book. Awesome. But yeah, there, and then, we can exchange emails as well. And if we end up going out to have dinner, cool, let's do that. I'm down to meet people and try some new food, take recommendations and all that. But yeah, I'm a regular guy. Don't be afraid, guys. All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for being on. Appreciate it. And we wish you all the best. Thank you. You too, man. Love what you guys are doing. So I'm just happy to be here and share my story. So thank you. Yeah, it's a great story. Thanks a lot. All right, man.
Join us next time for another episode of the Exploring Washington State podcast.